Hello everyone, today we're going to build up this landing page in ReactJs. So let's get started. I'm going to open up my terminal and I'm going to cd into my desktop and into the work folder on my desktop, and then I'm going to say npx create react app and I'm going to call it Trigr. Okay, now I'm not going to let this run because I already have a folder called Trigr because I already bootstrapped it right here. But for your case, then you're going to have to let this run so that it can bootstrap a new React application for you. And then once it's done, I'm just going to cd into that folder called Trigr, and then I'm going to open VS Code into that folder. Okay, and then as VS Code opens, then I'm just going to go back into my terminal and say npm start, which will start my development server. Now I'm going to show you where we're going to get this SVG image. Okay, and I'm just going to grab the colors from right here. So let me just grab it and copy this. Okay, and then did I run this? Nope. Okay, npm start, come on, could you run please? Okay, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to go into, this is the default React application, and I'm going to go into my source folder and into index.css, and right at the top I'm just going to paste this in. So I'm going to say let me just say root and call this primary color and set it to this. Oops, did I not copy it? Really? Set it to that. Okay, so this is our primary color, and I think we can get on with just begin to build it as we wait for the server to start. So let me remove this, and let's remove this as well because we're going to be using a font called Rubik from Google Fonts, which we're also going to grab. So above this, let me just grab my alt selector, and I'm going to say reset the margin to 0 and reset the padding to 0 as well, and then reset the box sizing to border box. Come on, so border box. Okay, so let's save this and let's head over into fonts.google.com so that we can grab this font. Okay, so fonts.google.com, fonts.google.com. What? Why does this keep happening? Okay, so my internet is down and I can't grab this font. So what I'm going to do is we're just going to work with our React application as it is. Okay, and then probably I'm just going to add in the font later. So let me just place a comment above right here and say import Rubik font. And then I'm going to go into my app.js and let's perform some cleanup. Let's remove these two at the top. Let's remove this header, and then let's remove this as well. And let's just return an h1 that says Trigr, like so. Oops, there we go. And it should reset, it should reload. I mean, what is happening? Okay, there we go. So it reloads and we have that on the screen. So let's create a components folder inside our source folder. Okay, increase this just a bit. Let's create a components folder, and then inside here let's have header.js, and then let's also have hero.js. I think those are the only ones that we're going to need. And then inside header.js, let's say underscore rfc, okay, which generates a React function component, and this is coming from an extension called ES7 React Redux GraphQL and React Native Snippets. So you can go ahead and install this. Okay, so once we have this, then inside my header, let's just return a fragment first of all, and then let's return a header tag. And Emmet always does this. I don't know why it does this when I'm recording. So let's return a header, and then let's return a div, and then inside this div let's have an h2 that says Trigr, like so. And then let's give this div a class name of logo, then give this header a class name of header just so that we can style it in our CSS. And then below this div let's have a nav. Okay, this nav is going to be a ul with two list items, so li times 2, and this one is going to say what did he say actually? It says about us and let's talk. So about us and let's talk, like so. And then after this let's have a div with the class of CTA, meaning call to action, And then inside here we're going to have a button with a class of btn, and it's a class of btn because it's basically the same button that we use here and here. And this button is going to say get started. Okay, so this is our header component. Let's just go back into our app.js, and instead of rendering this, then let's just render our header component. And of course, let's import it at the top. So I'm going to say import header from ./components/header, like so, and we should see it on the screen right there. Fantastic. Now what we can do is we can go back inside here and we can begin dealing with our hero component. So let's say _rfc. Okay, and then let's have this. Let's remove this. Oops. Let's remove this, and then let's render a showcase with a class of a section with a class of hero. And then inside this section, let's have a div with a class of overlay, and then let's have an h1 that says solve trigonometry problems on the fly. Okay, and then below this, let's have, actually, you know what I can do is I can refactor this so that this becomes a button component, so that instead of having to type this out once again, then I can just render a component. So actually, let me do that. So let's have a button component, and then let's create a new file here called button.js, and then let's just paste this in. Oops, actually not like that. Let's say _rfc first, and then let's return a fragment and then paste this in. Okay, and then let's import this button component at the top. So I'm going to say import button from ./button, like so. And then inside here, let's have a button component, and then let's import it at the top. So import button from ./button. Okay, probably you can call it CTA button so that it's a bit more descriptive, but I think this is okay. And then what I should do actually is these two should be inside a div, or let me just call it an article, like so. And the reason why I'm doing this is because if you look at the way I designed it, then this is one grid and then this is another grid, and that's what I want to do. So this is article, and let's have another article here that says the image. The source for this is going to be coming from the hero image, which I know we don't currently have. And I wanted to show you where to get it, and I can see, okay, my internet is back. So let's go into, where was it? fonts.google.com. First of all, let's grab our font, and our font is called Rubik. Okay, and this font we're going to be using the regular 400 and the bold 700. Let's use the import, and then let's go inside here, inside our index.css. Let's replace this with our import. Okay, and there we go. So this should automatically take effect. Let's look at that. There we go. So our font has changed. But let me show you where you can get this SVG icon, right? So we can go into a website called andro.co, and you can just say browse now, and I'm just going to search for, I think I searched for math. Yeah, there we go. So this is our SVG image. If you want to change the color, then you can just go right inside here and you can select whatever color that you want, and it's going to take effect, as you can see right there. So you can go ahead and just click on this, and you can download the SVG or the PNG for your you know, whatever reason that you want. But for what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab this from my Figma, okay, and then I'm just going to export it as SVG. So export this, and then I'm going to export it into my desktop, inside my work folder, inside here, and inside my source folder, and then I'm just going to call this hero.svg. Okay, and it should be right there. So let's go inside our hero, and then let's import this image. So I'm going to say import, come on, import hero from / should be, is it // okay, /hero.svg. There we go. So let's save that. Let's go back into app.js, and then below this, let's render the hero, our hero component, like so. Let's import it. There we go. Okay, and actually what I've done there, I usually do this like some kind of reflex. Okay, so I was saying that if it doesn't give you the option to auto import it, then what you can do is click right here and say Control and spacebar, which will give you a drop down of the commands that you can perform on that, such as auto importing it at the top. I usually do that subconsciously that I forget to explain it. So let's save that and let's see what we have. And this is what we have on the screen. Okay, so let's place this to the left, rather to the right, and then this to the left, and then we can begin styling this out. So let's go into index.css right here, and then on the body, let's give the body a background color of black and a text color of white. Set the text color to white. Okay, and then see how the image kind of is bigger than the width when you scale it down, and it introduces a horizontal scroll bar. Let's fix that by targeting all the images, and by the image tags I mean this tag right here, so all the image tags. And then we're going to say all these should have a max width of 100%, which just makes sure that, come on, it just makes sure that it doesn't go outside of the container. Okay, so there we go. Fantastic, fantastic. Let's add, should I add a padding on the body? Let's see, let me say padding of 20 pixels all around, just to push it in once. Okay, and then let me remove these bullets. Okay, so right here, let's say for the unordered list, let's say list style tab, set this to none. Fantastic. And then now let's go into the header. So for the header, what I want to do is display flex, okay, which will place them in raw form, and then align item center, which will bring the items down just a bit to the center, and then justify content, set this to space between. Actually, you know what, set this to center first of all, and I'm going to explain why. Okay, so this is set to the center because I want to add a flex direction here of column. Okay, so they're going to stack one on top of the other, and the reason I'm doing this is because I don't want these two links to show on small screens, and those two links are the navbar right here. So what I'm going to do is just target the header, the header nav, and I'm going to say display nav. Look at that. And then we are going to go into the header nav and actually into the button with the class of CTA. So let's target the call to action button. Let me just place a comment here that says CTA. So target the CTA, target the BTN class. Is that how I named it? Yes, so the CTA, and then target the button with the class of BTN. Give this a background color of our primary color, which is this. Actually, place it inside a variable, right? Okay, and then add a border radius of 1 pixel. Remove the border, so border, set this to none. Actually, you know what, let's say border 1 pixel and solid, and set this to the primary color as well, primary color. Okay, let's have a padding of 10 pixels on the top and bottom and 20 pixels on the left and right. Change the text color to white. Change the font weight to bold, which is 800. Did I use 800 or 700? 700, so set this to 700. Okay, so let's save this. Let's see what we have, and this is what you have on the screen. And notice how buttons don't usually take up the font family from the body by default, so you would have to specify that. So I'm going to say font family, set this to inherit. I think inherit should work. It works sometimes, it doesn't sometimes. Okay, but this time it has worked. And let's increase the letter spacing so the button is just a bit easier to read, because remember we have set it to a bold font, so it becomes just a bit harder to read. Letter spacing 1 pixel. Okay, fantastic. Let's say font size, set this to 16 pixels and then move it just at the top. That should be good enough for small screens. Should be good enough. And you know what, for small screens, what I can do is, instead of this stacking one on top of the other, I can paste this to the right. So let's go back inside here and then let's remove this. Okay, and then let's set this to space between, which will do that. Fantastic, amazing. Okay, and then let's go ahead and begin styling our showcase, and I call it hero. I'm so used to calling it showcase. So for the hero, let's say display grid, and grid template column, set this to 1 fractional. Okay, add a grid gap of 10 pixels, should be fine. And let's see, and nothing actually changes, which is expected, by the way. Let's just say text align center for everything, which would move this text to the center. Let's target the H1. So for the hero, there's an H1, which I can say font size. Let's increase the font size, set this to 36 pixels. That's fine. Let's say margin top, set this to 20 pixels. Let's set this to 50. And actually, you know what, this is inside a class of overlay, so hero overlay. Okay, let's add a margin on the bottom of this. So margin bottom, set this to 10 pixels to push it away from the button, just a bit, let's say 20. And then let's change this from display grid. Let's actually remove all of this and set this to display flex, and then align item center and justify content to the center, and then add a flex direction of column reverse so that the image will come first and then the text on the bottom. Did I do it correctly? Come on. You know what? This is hero overlay. It should be on hero overlay class. There we go. There we go. That should be fine. And then now I want to target this image because I just want to reduce its width just a bit. So hero overlay img, set this width to, let's say, 80%. Reduce it just a bit. Okay, looking fantastic. Let's add a margin on the top. So margin top, set this to 50 pixels, which means I can remove, actually this is fine, this is fine, this is fine. That's fantastic. Now on the overlay, I want to add a very slight background color. So let me add a background color of 666. Actually, what is it? It was hashtag 666. Was that it? It had some 40% opacity. So let me just change this to HSL so that I can add opacity at the end. Come on, of 40% opacity. There we go. So that we're going to have this. Let's have padding on this. So let's say padding to 20 pixels on the top and bottom. Actually not, 50 pixels on the top and bottom, 20 pixels on the left and right. Come on, this should be pixels. And then let's add margin on the top so that it pushes away from the header right there. So margin top, set this to 50 pixels, which means I was adding the margin top on the wrong place here. So let's remove that, and we're going to have that. Look at that, looking amazing. Very simple landing page, very minimal. And then of course let's add a border radius on this. So border radius, set this to around 10 pixels, should be fine. That's looking fantastic. And now all we need to do is just scale it up. So let's do that right away. And I'm going to add a media query, and I'm going to say for a min width of 992 pixels, then I want the hero and the overlay class. Okay, set this to flex direction row so that it's going to go like so. Okay, looking almost fantastic. Instead of setting this to row, what I can do instead is just change it all the way by saying display grid, and grid template columns to repeat twice and one fractional column each. Okay, which will do that. It will do that. Okay, and then let's target this, increase the h1. So hero overlay h1, I think had a margin on the h1, so let's remove the margin. So margin top, set this to 0, and then let's increase the font size to around 64 pixels. Okay, and then where did I add the display flex? I added text align center, sorry, right here. So on the hero overlay, let's say text align left, text align left, take this to the left like so. Okay, looking fantastic. And then we reduced the image width by quite a lot, right? We reduced the image width to 80%. So let's take it back to 100%. So let's say hero overlay image, set this width to 100%. Okay, let's see that. That should be fine. That should be fine. And then let's let's return our links at the top, right? Our links at the top. So for the header, come on, it was the header and the nav. I want to say display block right here. Was it the header nav? Let me see, where are you? Header nav display none, header nav display block. Come on, there we go. So it hadn't reloaded. And then once we do that, then let's target the ULs inside the nav. Okay, and then we're just going to say display flex like so, and then target the list items inside here. So copy this down right here, target the list items, and I'm going to say margin of 0 on the top and bottom and 10 pixels on the left and right to push them away from one another. Fantastic. And then let's limit everything. Okay, let's limit everything. And probably what I could do is I can go inside app.js and wrap all of this inside a main with the class name of container. so that I can go right inside here and add a media query. This was at 992. Okay, so let's add at media. Let's say min width of 1280 pixels. Let's say for the container class, I want it to have a max width of 1000 pixels. Let's see how much that is. Too small. Let's say 1100. Still too small. 1200. 1200 is almost correct. I would want this to come right here. Okay, so let's make it 1250. Not yet. 1280. How much is 1280? Okay, so 1280 brings it right there. Okay, so that means let's change this to 1440 pixels. No, 1440 is too big and this will span too much, so let's just make it 1300 pixels. Let's make it 1300, and then of course let's say margin auto, which will push it back to the center. There we go. So we have this and we have this, and this image is looking just a bit too big. That's why it goes all the way to the bottom and it introduces this kind of scroll bar. So let's reduce the image. And actually I can just remove this from here. Okay, so that we're going to have this. Look at that. Solve trigonometric problems on the fly, and it's looking amazing. Okay, so this is going to be our landing page, and what I would want to do is actually add an about us page, add a form for the let's talk page, and then add a form on the get started page where we are going to add protected routes. So this is going to be part 1 of this series. And actually what I decided to do on the channel is that I'm going to reduce the long videos. I'm going to be cutting them down to about 20-30 minutes. I realized those are the ones that people engage with more. Okay, so that is going to be part 1 of this series, and I hope you learned something new, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.